Now let us pick up the beginning and then go to the end. So, conditioned by ignorance, what arises? Mental formation. Conditioned by mental formation, consciousness arises. Conditioned by consciousness, nama, rupa, and namarupa arise. Conditioned by nama, rupa, and namarupa, six sense bases arise. Conditioned by six sense bases, contact arises. Conditioned by contact, feeling arises. Conditioned by feeling, craving arises. Conditioned by craving, grasping arises. Conditioned by grasping, bhava arises. Conditioned by bhava, birth arises. Conditioned by birth, aging and death arises. Also sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair may or may not arise. Because if you are reborn as a Brahma, no sorrow, no lamentation, no pain, no grief, no despair. They belong to the human being. If you are a human being, you cry, you are sorry, you lament. But when you become a Brahma, no sorrow, no lamentation. So they are not the inevitable results of birth. The inevitable result of birth are aging and death. That you cannot escape. Whether you are reborn as a Brahma or a Deva or whatever, there will be aging and there will be death. But there may not be sorrow, lamentation and so on. But if you are a human being, I don't think you can avoid having sorrow, lamentation and so on. So this is the wheel of life, and so we should see it as something going round and round and round, and not just like as a chain. Now, what do you think are the benefits of understanding dependent origination?
I enjoy it because owing to that we meet one another here.
Now, would you believe that beings at death are totally destroyed? There are no rebirth for them. Do you believe that? But there is an opinion that there is only this one life. At death, everything is finished. So the being is annihilated at death, and that is one say, according to us, one wrong view. And there is another wrong view which says that the Atman or something goes on and on permanently. That is another wrong view. So if you understand dependent origination, you will not believe in either of these two opinions. Because according to the dependent origination, you know that one thing leads to another, one thing leads to another, and it will go on and on and on until you become an arahant and cut off this wheel. Otherwise, you will go on and on and on. So you will not believe in the annihilationist view. And then you will not believe in something permanent here, because everything is conditioned, and whatever is conditioned is not permanent. Because when there are conditions, it arises and it exists. When there are no conditions, it must also disappear, right? So you do not believe in permanency of the beings or soul or whatever. Now, there is a belief or teaching that you are created by God or created by Brahma. According to this, could you believe that? Because there is no creator, but just one condition, say, giving rise to another one, and that one giving rise to another, and so it goes on and on and on. So there is no creator or no maker of being. That also you understand when you study dependent origination. Then, do you believe in things happening without cause. They think things arise without cause, without condition. No. So because you have learned from the dependent origination that everything is conditioned by some other thing. So you can avoid 4 wrong views if you understand the dependent origination. What are the 4? The view that beings are impermanent, or there is something, some permanent entity. And the second is beings are annihilated at death. They are cut off and no more. And the third is we are created. Beings are created by a Brahma or a creator. And the fourth is beings arise without any cause or condition. So these 4 are called wrong views in Buddhism. And these 4 we can avoid if we understand the dependent origination. And that is not all. Actually, there are many more to be understood with regard to dependent origination. Now, I want to tell you one more thing. It's past 10 o'clock now. That is, do not think that these links are cause and effect that must belong to different times. For example, number 1 and number 2, ignorance and mental formation. Now, when people study or read dependent origination, they got the impression that one must be the cause of another. Number 1 is the cause of number 2. Number 2 is the cause of number 3. Cause means productive cause. Number 3 is the cause of number 4, and so on. But that is not so. Some are, say, cause of other things, but many are just supporting conditions, not causes, not producers. Now the second one, sankhara. Mental formations produce rebirth consciousness, so that is producing. But rebirth consciousness and nama-rupa, right? Consciousness does not produce nama-rupa, but it helps them to exist. It supports them to exist. So some relationships are not as producing cause and effect, but just as helping each other, supporting each other, to supportive conditions. So that you must understand. And in order to understand fully all the relationships, then you have to understand the Patthana, the 7th book of Abhidhamma, the 24 modes of causal relations. And in the Visuddhimagga, the dependent origination is also explained with reference to these conditions. And many authors did not even touch upon these 24 modes of relationships when they wrote on dependent origination. The only book I am aware of where the Patthana is dependent origination is explained with reference to Patthana is that by Jnanatiloka. You can read that in his book called Buddhist Dictionary, and also his separate booklet on dependent origination. So he was, as far as I know, he was the only modern author who explains dependent origination with reference to the 24 modes of relationship. And if you want to go to the origin, then you read Visuddhimagga. Now please read the last sentence. Thus, there is the arising of this whole mass of suffering. Now please do not think that Buddha gave us only the arising of this whole mass of suffering. Buddha also taught the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. And when I say Buddha or Bodhisattva contemplated on dependent origination in due order, and in reverse order. So by reverse order, I mean not from the end to the beginning, but reverse order means the cessation. So reverse order goes like this. Due to the remainderless cessation of ignorance, there is the cessation of mental formation. Due to the remainderless cessation of mental formations, there is cessation of consciousness, and so on and so on. So Buddha not only taught the arising of this mass of suffering, but he also taught the cessation of the whole mass of suffering. Because if he taught only the arising of suffering, we would be very depressed. Only there is only suffering. But he also taught the cessation of suffering. Actually, the way that leads to the cessation of suffering, and that is all you know. What that is, you all know, right? The way to the cessation of suffering. What is that? Eightfold Path. And what is Eightfold Path?
Right understanding.
Right understanding, and so on. And when you what do you do in order to have these factors of Eightfold Path in you? What do you do?
Meditation.
Practice meditation. So Buddha gave us the practice of meditation that surely leads to the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. Okay, thank you.
You open the question or after that?
I think it's too late now. So please save for tomorrow. And tomorrow, I think I'll explain the chat you brought from Malaysia, the 31 planes of existence, as part of the course of informed Buddhist. No, not this. The other one.
You have a dependent origin.
This is dependent origination. Where did you get this?
It's the same place from the same. Same place.
Same place?
Ambient.
Oh. Theravada. Dhamma. Oh.
He intends to send it to you.
That's new. That the 7 factors of enlightenment. This is also among the informed Buddhists. Yeah, that is 7 factors of enlightenment. So there's a lot to understand. But if you don't understand all these details, don't worry. What is important is practice. Because one thing certain is, those who met the Buddha for the first time did not know Abhidhamma, did not know dependent origination, but they practiced and they became enlightened. Right? There was the last disciple of the Buddha. So Buddha taught him when he was only about 2-3 hours from death. So he came to the Buddha and he wanted to see the Buddha, and Ananda did not give him permission because he thought this man comes to trouble the Buddha. Then Buddha heard their conversation. So Buddha said, Ananda, don't prevent him from coming to me. Let him come in. So what he asked, he really wants to know, not to trouble me. So he came and he asked a question. Buddha did not answer that question, but Buddha talked about the Noble Eightfold Path. Buddha said, in whatever teaching and discipline the Noble Eightfold Path is found, there are found also the monks who have reached the first stage, second stage, third stage, fourth stage, and so on. So he was so pleased with Buddha's teaching. that he asked Buddha to ordain him. And Buddha told Ananda to ordain him. So he was ordained during the night, about midnight. And then after his ordination, Buddha taught him meditation. So he went to a place a little farther away from the Buddha, where there is seclusion. So he went to that place and practiced meditation, walking up and down. And then he became an arahant before Buddha died. So he came to the Buddha and just said that I have become an arahant or something like that. So he was the last disciple of the Buddha. He belonged to another sect. So he didn't know anything, any of the Buddha's teachings. And there was no time to learn Abhidhamma or Paticca or whatever. So he just, with confidence, he just followed the Buddha's instructions and practiced meditation. And he became a arahant. So if you don't know all these the details and intricacies, don't be disappointed. What is important is practice. Is this for me or for you? For you. Oh, very good. This also? Yes. So later on I'll explain this just to you. So tomorrow, 31 planes of existence. Okay then. So have a good night's sleep.